Okay, hello again, this is Rank Carcass. We're going to do a video on Italian strategy. And just a little point of information for this video. Everybody keeps saying that the British and Allies are purely reactionary. Whatever they're doing makes the Italians in this game very reactionary. The Italians have to plan when they attack, where they attack, whatever, by what the British are doing. So it's kind of like a cat and mouse game where the British and the French and the Italians are all moving their fleets around. Sometimes they're keeping them in the Med, sometimes they're moving them away. They might go to the east, they might go to the west. It's hard to tell, right? So there's so many possible variations of where they may move stuff or whatnot, or if your enemy's building a factory somewhere, that'll draw your attention to that location where you'll be more likely to react to that area just because there'll be more reinforcements coming from that area. So these things are all things to take into account, as well as the supply lines and naval ports and access to or from the home country's factories, right? Because a factory can't build anything unless it's connected by a port or rail to the home country's major. So there you go. And there's supply points everywhere on this map, but there we go. So that's just a general overview on how things sit here. Because as the Italians, the Allies can't attack you until you are aggressive, initiating or declaring war on somebody else. So, as Italy, in my last video there, I was showing you some of the there's my pointer. Some of the objectives you could get. So you can literally take Abyssinia, Albania for your victory condition, right? Your 2 points. And then Lend-Lease to here and win that. Well, as Italy, you now have 3 points out of your 4. And you've never entered the war. And you never have to. You can just sit there. And everybody's like, well, that's boring. Italy's just sitting there. Yes, Italy's just sitting there. It can't be preemptively attacked by the Allies. It can be preemptively struck by the Russians. However, that will not bring the Allies into the war with the Italians because Italy didn't initiate that attack. So the thing is, now Italy's got a bit of a navy. It's got a little bit of an air force. It's got some land units. It's got some more over here. Italy has the options, right? They've got a supply base here. Even if it doesn't come through the Suez, supplies to that base can go all the way around here and through Gibraltar and to a factory up there. So you can literally build a factory or an air base or whatever you want to build in this little pocket of the world here and build her up. You can build up a navy here, placing ships at the navy port or naval base, and perform some of that threat projection. Very similar to what I was showing with the British. I'm just going to get a couple of transports out here. So you start building up some threat projection. So what you're looking at here is that right now, at the same time, on the build chart, Italy's got a destroyer, a sub, and a battleship that I recommend you build up. So you can throw some more units onto the map. You can either focus out here, right? You're at a navy base here, right? So you got a bit of threat projection. That's just a random pile. It doesn't matter what you have. You could have actually, because you have the navy base there, there's no rail lines in here, so you can't build the factory anywhere but there. But you could have built 2, or you could build 3, right? It's up to what Italy is doing, right? So if Italy decides that it wants to be a major pain in Africa, it can do all this stuff. Now, while you're doing this, you don't ever have to attack the British. But by doing this, you are going to be drawing forces for the British away from Europe, possibly the Indians away from Japan. You're going to be they're going to be cautious and conscious of the fact that you can attack them from here, and they will be building up more units here and probably more units there. So they'll be you're basically drawing everything in and in. And as Italy, that's an excellent strategy. You don't have to fight a thing, and just by building stuff or moving your stuff around, you're drawing the Allies in to counter a potential attack from that area. So you can have a lot of fun with that without ever having to do an attack. Now, at the same time, I was talking about supply. In order to get a factory up here, you're going to have to either build a Navy base here or a Navy base here, depending on where you want the factory. But there's no rail lines connecting these three, right? So something from here by rail can go to Cairo, and something from Tunis can go via rail all the way over to Morocco or Algeria. But there's no rail through here. Tripoli's got no rail at all, right? So if you're playing with the rail expansion, in order to get a supply line that goes all the way across the northern Africa, you would need to build a rail at this border crossing and this border crossing. So if you're using the rail expansion, it's not a horrible idea. That would connect the whole line here. And you can put a Navy base here. If you're not going to build any rail, I recommend you put it here. That way you're still in supply if you have through this rail line, if you take it. And that rail line, depending on how things work for supply, goes all the way up through Turkey and into Bulgaria and to Europe. So depending on what's going on with the Germans, that may be a good supply line for you as well. All right, so as I was saying earlier in the last video, all your national objectives are based off of the Mediterranean. You get a bonus for Cairo, you get a bonus for Gibraltar, you get a bonus for no enemy surface warships in there, right? Now, the reason you probably want to take Gibraltar, and I'll just focus on Gibraltar here first. Gibraltar is the access point from the Atlantic. Gibraltar's mountainous. Gibraltar's controls movement of ships through here. It's a city. It's mountainous. It's a brutal attack. The defenders have a lot of bonuses there. Only one bonus at a time, but they got bonuses to choose from, and they get to pick the best one. So nobody else gets a numerical bonus from that. But if ever the British build a factory in there, I highly recommend that the Italians take that out before they build too many units. Otherwise, you'll never get it. And if you have a decent stack here, as the Italian, for example, best case scenario, the British move out into the Atlantic for some reason with their navy. Take this, cut them off, keep them out there. It will be much beneficial to you. It'll be more beneficial to you to be able to lock, because if you have this locked down, you don't have to spend billions of troops up here in Rome just to keep it safe for when the Americans and the British come in through Gibraltar and do an amphibious assault on Italy. Right? So that's something to look at. Excellent having this place. And remember, if there's a factory there or you can build a factory there, it is a hostile territory that you've taken over, so it has a maximum build limit of 1 without a factory for militia, not black shirts. You can only build black shirts back in Italy. But if you have a factory, you can build a militia and a unit at the factory, right? So there's some of that. Very handy to have. So that's Gibraltar, right? That's your way to lock it down. And if you're going to do that with a lockdown, you're going to move your fleet into here, which will be protected from anything except for submarines or possible aircraft attack. And then your fleet from here can counter attack any invasion force that would possibly either drop off here or be staging up here in preparation to drop into northern Africa or Gibraltar. So there's some options, and having this Gibraltar location as Italian would give you access to using your aircraft to get out here and land in Gibraltar. Alright, so that's Gibraltar, very important. That's the key to the Western Mediterranean. If you can lock it down, great. That's way more important in my opinion than all this stuff across here. However, let's move this stuff back. However, it's also nice to take these things out, especially if the French have built a factory in here, which sometimes they'll do, and then it doesn't go Vichy. I've had games where the French just start, dropping a unit, dropping a unit, dropping a unit, dropping a unit. Next thing you know, they got enough of a force here to just sweep across northern Africa and eliminate the Italians. And the British don't even have to get involved. So, and now on the other side, we have Cairo. Cairo is a key to the British Empire. It's what connects the East and the West. Or else they got to go around South Africa. So, alright. There's a bunch of bonuses for the Allies for that. And let me see. FEC, if the Suez. Let's turn that camera a bit here. FEC gets $2 if the Suez and where Cairo and Aden are British controlled. France gets $1 if Cairo is controlled by the Allies. UK gets $3 if Cairo is controlled for ownership of Cairo. So if the British have Cairo, there's $5 or $3 for the UK economy, $2 for the FEC, and $1 for France. Plus, it's worth $1 on the face value. So this is technically a $7 income increase to the Allies to hold Cairo, right? If you can take that out, you've just taken out $7 of the income for the total Allies, both Pacific and Atlantic. Very key to do. Problem is, it's hard to get enough troops in there, and the Allies also know this, so they will be reinforcing that like crazy if possible. Or they'll back out of it and counterattack you from the south. So there's that option. So there's the reasons why Cairo is a big deal. But yeah, like I was saying with the British strategy video here, the same thing has been done by the Italians. I'm just going to show this one. Let's just use a carrier because you never see Italian carriers very often. They're expensive and the Italians don't make enough money. But you got a carrier here or a transport, a fleet, right? This is my task force marker here. And this transport will be the base showing where it's starting off at this Navy base. So this here can attack the Suez. And that attack can be done in conjunction with an attack from both up here and from here. Right? There's 3 different ways you can get to it. The problem is you don't have any units here. There's no factory. You don't have any transports up in Italy. The Italians start with 0 transports. Now, in the last version of the game, they at least had 1 transport, and it was kind of doable, but with 0 transports, Italy is essentially neutered. So you're going to have to build a transport or 2 here, as the Italians, just to stay relevant, because otherwise you're just landlocked and you're stuck up there. Which is also not a horrible strategy for the Italians. And we'll just leave that for now, and we'll continue with this stuff here, right? So you've had to have this here. So you're based out of this location with the 3 factories here. You got a nice transport army, and a fleet. 1, 2, South African Union. Don't really need the Navy base. If you want, you can come around to here, but you don't need to. Right? That's an option. From here, you can go 1, 2, 3, and you can hit Calcutta. You can hit Bombay there and take out that Navy base and air base. can take out Aden. Right? You got some options on this side. Now, the same thing can be said if you do exactly the same thing from here. Either this sea zone or that sea zone can collect from the entire stretch of Italy and Sicily. So whatever land units are there can be scooped up and used. Now, Italy has, let's remove that here. Italy has a naval base that services sea zones 49 here on Sardinia. Rome and Turin have a base, so 2 bases that supply 50. Taranto and Turin have 2 bases that supply 51 here. And then Sicily has a base that supplies the sea zone 80. So there are 4 sea zones where the Italians have naval bases. And some of them have, like this airfield here, or this air base, provides a scramble to there and here. The air base here provides a scramble to both sides of Italy. Not a horrible thing. Now you can combine those air bases and do whatever you want. But yeah, at some point in time, Italy's going to get, possibly, depending on how well the Allies are doing, I've seen Italy own all of Africa, the Middle East, and have Gibraltar locked right down because everybody was focused on something else. So, if they all focus on something else, Italy can build and build and build and just spread like a disease. But not all the time. Most players aren't going to let that happen. So, the key, as always, don't lose your capital. You lose your capital, you surrender. So, Rome needs a good stack. What else is good about a good stack in Rome, or a good stack in Turin, is that you now have the ability. Now, this is something we may do when we're going to get into a war situation. I'll typically use the Italians or the Germans to take out Switzerland. That allows a faster reinforcement, bypassing the Vichy into France by the Italians. So the Italians can assist the Germans in case of an attack. A large beefed up force here will limit the options the Allies have, and they may say, well, it's too built up there, let's try somewhere else. And a force in Turin here can go 1 into here, 2 and reinforce there, or 2 and reinforce there if they have armored or motorized or something. So they can rapidly reinforce the line. They can also reinforce Romania if need be. And from here they can't get all the way into, but they can get into southern Germany here in Munich. So there's some options for Italy to use its units and assist that way if it decides it's not going to be expansionist. And your idea on whether you're going to be expansionist or not all depends on what the Allies do. Sometimes they'll try to pin you down, so they'll bring in Navy from way up there and they'll haul it all into the Med here and basically intimidate the Italians to the point where it's like, okay, we're outnumbered 2-1. We can't build enough Navy to make this worthwhile. We're going to focus on a ground force. Which is very handy because then the Italians can be using all their money for a ground force and start reinforcing the French occupied territories for the Germans, allowing the Germans to attack Russia with more or do a sea line with more. So there's, anything that the Allies do, you always have another plan. There's always another place to go. So keep that in mind. And Italy can be really boring if you're not moving your pieces. If I just sit here and go, okay, I'm going to be for 5 turns or 10 turns, I'm going to buy some land units here and I'm going to reinforce Rome. And that's all I do. Yeah, it's boring, but you made it boring. You didn't do anything. You have pieces. You can move them all over the map. You can stretch the Allies out, right? Build a naval base and one of these. Build a transporter too. Using that And what now? This some people may think this is contrary to the rules, and I agree that in the spirit of it, it probably has it so that the Volkstrom, or sorry, the black shirts are more like Volkstrom. It's the only advantage Italy has, and it's greatly outnumbered, and it's a really crappy advantage. You can attack with militia that defend it too. Ooh. So you can take something and use the militia as hits because they're a bit cheaper, but they're not amphibious assaulting militia. They're amphibious assaulting militia, not Marines. So you're going to get wiped out. You get one hit once, you lost two of them, right? And say, for example, you get a stack of them. You can come here and take out Gibraltar. Now, you're going to take some heavy, heavy casualties doing that. But now you have a Navy base. When you take this out, the fort and the coastal gun will disappear. I'm just going to leave them there for now. Now, as the Italians, you can start building up a couple of these. Now, what is that going to do? That's going to draw the British attention to there and away from here. Right? Everything you do draws attention. Now, even without attacking something, as I was saying, you build a port here and you put a couple of factories down there. Well, that will draw attention away from here and draw it all to here. Right? Or you're building factories down here. That'll draw attention to here and open up Gibraltar. Potentially. Right? So there's every time you move somewhere, they kind of are, oh, what's he doing? Let's keep an eye on that. Right? Remember that. That's what makes this 36 game different. There's no open set strategies. There's no, okay, on turn one, you're at war and you're both at war with each other and you go first, so you're going to fly in this crazy plane all the way from London and blah, blah, to the classic Toronto raid from Global 40. I just found that kind of stuff just way too monotonous and boring, which is why I went to this game where you start in 36, you move your pieces around. My Italian Navy might not be here. So that set play of doing that may not exist. Right? So, there you go. And that is basically the Italian strategy. You're the little brother. You're just trying to, even if you're just drawing troops down and making the British by building a Navy base and a factory down here or over here, you're making the British spend more money in Africa, opening up London for a sea line by Germany, right? You're doing the same thing here. You're going to make the FEC more likely to start moving over here and assisting in Africa, which opens up the FEC or the Western Pacific here to the Japan moving in on FEC easier, right? So Italy might be the little brother, but Italy's movements and buildups can influence the greater theater of the Western theater here and the Eastern theater. So don't forget that. Italy may seem small. Italy, without even firing a shot, can totally make sea line work better. Or can totally make an attack on China or Australia more effective by pulling some troops back. Maybe the Australians come back here, and then the Japanese hit Australia, all because you built something over here and you stocked it up. And you don't even have to build this stuff. You're not at war yet, so you can just start trundling this stuff around and through. Or you can go through here. But I would not rely on this one unless you're going to kill it. Right? So by doing this kind of things, and this is just one example, there's many other places. You can take over a place, you can use a place you already have, and just do this kind of thing, right? Another thing to remember is you're non-belligerent. While you're non-belligerent, the Turkish will let you in and out with your navy. What can this navy do in there? Well, maybe the navy can't do much, but without attacking anybody, you can move a whole bunch of transports in here with the Navy. And what does that do? Well, that opens you up to the fact that you can now strike Ankara or Kars or Transcaucasia, right? Some options. Italy's the closest to the Middle East. Germany gets better bonuses for these that you don't, but you can either reinforce the Germans that are there, right, or something. There's always something you can do as Italy. And when you get totally overwhelmed, just turtle in Rome. When the Allies are all coming in and they're just piling on you, turtle in Rome, turtle in Turin. Those two places, it's all you need. You got Turin, you lock down northern Italy. You got Rome, you're keeping your capital. You got your factory, just keep turtling in there. And the nice thing is it's within range of the Germans, so they can come down and assist you. Or this turtle down here can assist the Germans with either France, like I was saying, all of Southern Europe can be assisted. So yeah, if they're taking Taranto, that's cool, let them take it. Until you're ready and you can take it and keep it. Right? If they're going to take something they can't keep, let them. And then hammer them with a counterattack. Alright, so that's pretty much it for my Italian video. I'm not really sure what else to add on to this. If you're hearing that air nailer in the background, I apologize. My neighbor's been, I don't know what he's building, but he's been building something for days. So, and yeah, sorry about the noise. So yeah, this is Rank Carcass here, and this I think is probably going to be about it for my Italy strategy video. I'm not sure. Nope, there's one more caveat I wanted to add. What I've also seen, Italy comes in and takes that, right? You got a bunch of these. Well, what can this fleet do from here? The same thing that the American fleet can do from there to here in one move with the base, or from here to there in one move with the base, or you can annihilate the South America. You can basically, Italy becomes a disturber. So don't forget those are options if you have Gibraltar. It all depends on what's going on this side and that side and everything else, though, right? So it's the big shell game, you know, the moving the shells around. Where's the P? Yeah. So those are some options. And for that, I'm just going to leave it with that. Can't really think of anything else that I need to add to this. I mean, when you're looking at the map and you're watching everybody else move their stuff around, it kind of gives you an idea what they are probably doing, but they could be faking and showing you what they want you to do by moving there. Italy is great for that. You can do that all game. Alright, so I'm going to leave it there. So Rank Carcass, and I'm going to shut this video down. Have yourselves a great day, and enjoy yourselves. Bye.